I can tell you that. But yeah. So the September long weekend of 2025. Gee, my brain is shutting off. Uh, I do better with questions than talking voidly into a camera with all these faces and icons. If you can be specific questions on
Okay. So
yes.
let's
I
help
will.
everyone. Let's help Derek and Jared out. If
Yeah.
you've got specific questions about the amazing Refuge Nationals that's going to happen up north, drop them in the chat, so our wonderful friends can answer them.
I can
Maskatoon.
copy paste it for you, Andy, so you can take a look. So this is the name of the site. It is, as Derek is saying, southwest of Edmonton. As far as some of the logistics of getting there, you're going to primarily have access to either the Edmonton Airport code YEG or the Calgary Airport code YYC. The Calgary Airport probably has better service to a lot of different places in the United States, but it is going to be a bit further. And so you're going to end up with a bit of a further drive. So looking like probably like a 2.5 hour drive if you're going from Calgary versus from Edmonton, like Derek was saying, kind of in that 45 minutes. So if you have the option to be in Edmonton, that's probably a bit more ideal. But if it's about the same and you're going to be around for a bit, feel free to do like whatever's better for airfare and such like that.
And then if you were to say drive, it's about like 5-ish hours north of the border, 6 hours north of the border. So however long
Um,
it would take you to get to like, depending, I guess it depends whether you're coming from the Vancouver border or from Coots.
as far as specifics for like what not to bring into Canada, it'd be sort of standard stuff if you're coming for tourists. So if you're like packing for hiking, um, yeah. So this is sort of like one of those ones like like Pierre's pointing on there.
Every time.
Um, so the idea on it is sort of one of those ones. You'll have weird looking gear, and people have questions if you're coming in via vehicle versus if you're coming in through sort of check bag stuff. Sort of like if you're coming to do a camping in the Rockies and you want to take a bit of extra time and do that sort of stuff. I'm not sure if any of the other folks. I think there are certain things that you can buy in the states that are not legal to possess in Alberta. Like I think mace
Lock
is an issue,
picks.
but bear spray is a thing. Yeah, we do not use lockpicks because they are illegal to possess
Yeah.
unless you are a licensed lockpick and locksmith in Alberta. So we typically instead use 3D printed locks for anything that we would put that way. Um, yeah, I think that's like the standard stuff.
Yeah. Amenities on site. So there are, it is, like there's a very nice, like if you go onto the site that Marley was so kind to put the link for, there is like there's a big hall that's kind of akin to the one if you've been to the Seattle, like where Big West and stuff has been at. There's a lot of there's a lot of like there's a big hall, there's showers, there are bathrooms. Um, I believe there are three big giant fields. That's not an amenity, but it just is, and it's a lakeside campground. And there's a big kitchen, an industrial kitchen. Works in the states every single
Awesome, amazing. Um, thank you, Derek, for indulging us. I will ask the cheeky question while I yell at my cat, Alexa. Um, we don't know any of the plot things yet, right?
that that is correct
Okay.
because we were waiting for something first, and then when Michael graciously gave me the thumbs up,
Okay. I
then
dig it.
I started trying to track down this person. But because I really, really want to play the game. Otherwise, if it ends up being me, then I will work on the things and put them out properly. If
Cool. Sounds
that
good.
makes sense.
It does. All right. There we go. I was like, my camera doesn't want to work. Thank you for the temperature report. That was going to be my next question. Is for packing purposes. So okay, that sounds really really nice for those of us who do wear layers. So cloaks at night, that kind of thing. Humidity. Because I'm that person.
It's Alberta. It's dry. It's very
It's
dry
dry.
here. Very dry.
I'm showing my ignorance here. Okay, fantastic. If you have any other questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Or Derek, are you okay with being DM'd? Is that, or Jared, are you?
Yeah, you
Yep.
can, but like the way my setup is right now, I might not see a DM as quickly as I would like. But like if you have questions over like the weeks and whatnot, by all means DM me.
Okay, fantastic. Just as usual, if you do have questions for one of the folks up here on stage, please feel free to DM us. We may not answer immediately. That especially goes for me. Once again, please know that I love you. It's not you, it's me. And I have already worked 40 hours this week, and I've had a death in the family. So, like, I am tapped for this week. So, yeah, I know. Love you guys. LARP is my happy place, so I am just excited that I get to spend it with all of you wonderful human beings. And I know I do have some outstanding DMs. I promise I will get back to them. That said, before we move to the sort of lion's share of... Oh, thank you, Jen. Before we get to the lion's share of tonight's content, just a friendly, loving reminder, we are still looking for candidates for the chairperson for Refuge. You may have seen me neurotically DM or put announcements out to your local Refuge Discord. Please feel free to send me a message. If you are interested in becoming a chairperson, kind of the order of operations is you send me a message, we chat briefly, put together kind of a light resume, toss me your LinkedIn, that kind of thing. We go through kind of a screening call, and then when we have our sort of collection of candidates, you will have a conversation with the board, and then you'll move forward. Because I've been asked this a couple times, the chairperson works very closely with our leads. They are really the sort of firewall, if you will, between the board of directors and our lead volunteers. And so your role is incredibly important for not only fostering healthy communication and efficient communication, which I have not been able to do quite as much because my demanding job and travel, but it's a really, really important part. So if you are newer to Refuge and you really want to make a huge impact, this is a great way to do it. We will work with you and embrace you and teach you everything that you need to know. But just as a quick heads up, that's kind of what the position looks like. I do want to give a shout out to the community, though. We actually had a crap ton of volunteers for RPC, RDEIC, and even RTD. So, like, I am so impressed with the community, and it just goes to show that, like, when we open up to you guys, we're transparent, we're vulnerable, we're present, we're accessible, like, y'all do really, really come up to the call. So those of you who have reached out, many of you I've tried to get notes back to, we are in the process of trying to get you connected with your leads, organizing those meetings. Please understand, it's not you. Again, it's me. I have a finite amount of time, unfortunately, and I'm doing both of the positions. So, they say y'all in Alberta a lot too. Look, I don't know where this language came from, but it's really nice and gender neutral. So, like, I do lean on the term y'all quite a bit. Y'all means all. That's what they say. I've never been to the South, but I'm told that's what they say. So anyway, I just thank you all so much. It was really refreshing to see all of you lean in with us after the last one. I want to continue to bring you that level of transparency, as my cat is like doing parkour behind me. So yeah. Thank you guys again, seriously. And please do if you're interested in joining a committee, I'm interested in having that conversation with you. It just may not be immediate. So my apologies for not doing the immediate dopamine reply hit back. Because we're all neuro-spicy up in this LARP hobby. Like, I know we all just want the little dopamine hit that those communications bring us. So All right, without further ado, I feel like there. Oh, we do have a public voting record. So last time we talked to you, and somebody very kindly reminded us of this either earlier today or earlier in the week. We promised you an open voting record, and we do in fact have it. Marley, do we have somewhere to stick it so that folks can get to it, or do like we need to upload it onto the website so you guys can see it, like just straight up. We want to make sure that you can see the public voting record. We do actually have the document. Uploading it to Discord just straight up. Like, do you guys want to see it that badly? Like, I'm gonna toss this to the audience, friends. Like, are you guys like, are you hot to trot for this voting record right now? Because we'll make it happen right now. You're welcome, Ryan. Neurospicy friends. It comes from Twitter. I mean X. Okay, we've got. Oh, hey, we have like 3 votes on Brewer's comment. I see. Yes, please. Oh, Dane gave me a Colbert gif. Well, fuck. That's it right there. Like, Colbert has spoken on behalf of Dane. Okay. I will leave it to Marley to try and find somewhere. Can we load it directly into? I say this because I'm currently recording the screen, so I can't multitask. The fuck, Darcy?
I'm doing it now.
Swear all loyalty to Brand X. Oh my god. Okay, so presumably in general chat or wherever Marley decides to ping it, you will have the actual public voting record, which I know many of you have been super hot on. Remember, if you have questions about a vote, please feel free to reach out to your owners. Now, they may not have done that vote themselves. It is if it's prior to their tenure, so do bear that in mind. But the intention is there, y'all. All right. So that was that one. What else? Was there anything else before we get into other cool shit? Nah. Didn't even spell it right, Derek. That's what makes that comment the best. Social media. All right. So we are in the process. I think, have we voted in the provisional rulebook? I think we have the majority votes. I love it, Derek. Good on you. So we do have a provisional rulebook that is going to be launching very, very shortly. I believe that it is being used by the majority of our chapters, but I'm just going to be very, very honest that this is not Juliet's skill set. What the fuck are rules? Viva the light rules resistance revolution. But I know that rules are part of our legacy as a Nero descendant creature. So I'm gonna pick on Jarrett because Jarrett came to Symposium with a PowerPoint, and that makes Jarrett awesome. So Jarrett, thoughts, comments? While I pull up things on my other monitor on the provisional rulebook, if anybody else wants to like give this kind of the nice, beautiful intro that it deserves, I'm just checking to see if there's somebody else I'm missing that needs to be up on stage. See, me too, Kendall.
Sure. Yeah, very happy to. So
on my screen. Appreciate you.
So there has been a lot of work done behind the scenes on getting the rule book up into being in a much better quality to release out than our previous rules release. That was one of the things that we specifically wanted to avoid again happening. And so there was a lot of back and forth on this one. And so while the initial document came to the board in October, we've been working a lot behind the scenes to get the proper revisions, catch typos, catch sort of contextual errors, try to make things a bit more clear for marshals where there was ambiguity and it wasn't super certain. While also trying to incorporate as many of the rules errata, rules changes, quality of life updates that we could, given where we are at. So I'll segue back into that in a second here. But essentially, the provisional rulebook, we currently have a majority vote for it. So I think we're good to go unless Juliet wants to veto it. But essentially, we've got the documents ready to go. This includes things that the players are definitely going to be eager to sink their teeth into, especially with some chapters starting to have more regular events as we're starting to hit that time of the year. Additionally, there is a change log that will be coming out with this for the sort of TLDR sort of things. That had been a very requested feature in the past. I think that's a super duper useful tool for folks that are on a bit of a time crunch to make sure that the areas that are of most interest to them, they can use that as, oh, this has changed. Let me go in to make sure I understand that rule. That's a really great feature. If you're taking a look through the vote record, you will also be able to see some votes that don't actually seem reflected in our current rule book. And so this is that previously mentioned segue. We are currently hamstrung a little bit by the technology of our time. So one thing that is an issue is when we make changes, because directors want to make changes and try to do things that are like new, innovative, streamlined, whatever that happens to be. One of the things that requires that to actually happen is to be able to make the rules do that on our database, which we use for our chapters. So it's really great and all if I give everybody Doomblow for one build with no requirements and I said, hey, that's great and all the directors approved it, but then we actually go in and have that coded. And so this is one of the things that has been a big ask on RTC. And so when you guys have heard us talking about, hey, if you know how to do Ruby on Rails, if you know how to do Ruby on Rails, please come find us. We really, really want that help. This is in large part of that process for trying to get that workflow going. So this particular iteration of the rules that you guys are going to see isn't necessarily reflective of every single vote or every single vision that the board has going forward, but this is, we wanted to get you guys some new stuff, some new tools, some new things for the year, some new quality of life updates to make it a more fun experience. This isn't like oh, this is all we're doing. We have a lot more vision than we're able to implement currently, and we really kind of need time to get our RTC to be able to have the opportunity to get those things going. So that's why you're gonna, if you go through the vote record, you're like, where's this thing about crafting changes, or where's this thing about this sort of a change? That's why there's a bit of a mismatch. But we really do think that this provisional rulebook's a nice like upgrades from where we were at before, to make it work better as a game as a whole. And so there's a lot to sink our teeth into. It may be one of those ones where from a topic, if we have specific questions, if you can kind of hit us up with that one, because obviously you guys have not yet seen that, but we would love to field questions as to why things were changed, what the rationale was for it. And then obviously as feedback rolls in, if you guys are like, Jared, all your feedback ideas are trash, we need to go back to the way things were, we need to hear that feedback so we can implement things like that.
Okay, that's beautiful. I think Darcy put a quote in the chat that I just want to lean into for just a second, which is I'm super anxious about the rules changes, right? We know that change is really challenging for players. It's doubly challenging for your logistics team, your plot team. Um, so I understand that this is going to be a little bit challenging, and we're hoping to give you kind of a quick look um, behind things and give you a little bit of a timeline. So what I'm going to do, and these dates, I'm going to tell you a little bit. I'm going to give you a little bit of context. We're still obviously in the process of kind of voting things through, and there is a board of directors meeting next week. Ooh, that's a good question. Provisional rulebook includes schematics, or is that being removed? Okay, sorry, I'm just looking for my dates. Marley, do you want to touch that?
Yeah, schematics will remain for now in the place of individuals using them. We've cleaned up a little of the language around them, so local chapters can do so. But you won't, unfortunately, be able to see any of them in the provisional rulebook suite.
Please feel free, if you have questions, drop them in the chat. I'm gonna give, right, smooth as butter. Marley, you do not sound like a robot this time, so we really appreciate that. What did you change? Nothing. did you change anything? Oh my god, that is amazing. It is a beautiful pink mic. If Cat is in earshot, thank you, Cat. We appreciate you.
Yeah, much better than just AirPods.
Okay, well done, well done. I'm glad to hear it. Okay, so in transparency, so this is a good opportunity. That's a teachable moment for kind of the network for you to understand a little bit about how things move through the system. There were a ton of requests made on RRC to make adjustments. A lot of the things you're seeing, some of the things you're seeing voted in are from Symposium. That happened in August last year for those of you playing the at-home game. But the board of directors decided that they kind of wanted to bundle everything together in a nice, clean, provisional rule book to get out to the player base. So it is my intention to get the transition documentation out to you guys sooner than later, as soon as possible. We do have those documents. They have not been officially voted on by the board of directors and have not been voted for public consumption yet. So you can expect that there's going to be an uncomfortable number of drops on Wednesday, sometime after 6:05 in the evening Pacific time, because our meeting kicks off around 6, and as we start going through and we vote through things, we'll be able to get those drops out. So these are going to be expedited. I will probably put them out myself, as opposed to we would normally do a loadout with RPC and thoughtful messaging and all those good things. But and we know you guys are hungry. We know you need these faster, right? So my hope is that everything will be okay. The dates are right now what is kind of what's being worked on, and those are for the reasons that were just discussed, which is that everything we do when it comes to rules, with a handful of exceptions, deeply impacts the database, right? And RTC, therefore, their time is very, very limited. It's very complicated what they do. They need enough time to do the database reset. So, but I'm going to give you some ballparks, friends. But I need you to promise me you're going to take these with a grain of salt, okay? I'm looking at, you know who you are. Take these with a grain of salt, friends. So these are entirely based on working with your each of your individual chapters. It's not just about you and your character, friends. It is about all of the network and all of the chapters and their dates and the individuals who have superpowers that include Ruby on Rails. So I know you want the information. I completely understand. LARP is a very personal journey. So with that in mind, it is my intention to publish all of the various different documents, assuming that everything lands on the 28th. You will have a hard, by 28th, I mean like a week from today, y'all. You will have a series of hard dates for what you can expect for when things are going to roll out, hopefully by the 28th. Okay, so again, that's a week from today. We intend to publish the rule book on the 28th or 29th, depending upon when Isaac clicks the upload button. Isaac, if you're in the audience, this is a you problem. We have to also do GitHub publishes into the data into refugelarp.org. So my hope is to try and get that done the 28th or the 29th. And then we will obviously publish all the transition documentation. I see that I'm just going to be fuzzy for this moment. And then we are pending RTC, looking at a rules reset or a database reset somewhere around that first week of March. So that's when your character, you'll have all of your XP unspent. You'll be able to respend said XP before you presumably check in for your next game, right? We are hoping to have all chapters with the February 24 provisional rulebook fully implemented as their live rule set by kind of towards the end of March. And again, these are fuzzy dates. They're fuzzy intentionally, and that's only because we are trying to finish the voting process for the dates, and we have to we don't want to, I think Barb and Erin of San Francisco very thoughtfully pointed out, hey, I don't want my logistics team to murder me because my database is going to reset the same weekend as my game. There are unfortunately a lot of moving parts as a network, right? This is both a benefit and a challenge for us as a network. But we hear you. Your concerns are valid. So we're going to try and give you some sneak peeks into the rule set. And I think many chapters are using these rules. So there shouldn't. Are there any surprises? Marley, I'm going to pick on you. Are there surprises? Let's be kind to our player base. Barb looked like
for sure.
I have thoughts.
Surprises?
Yeah, surprises.
Are
there surprises?
So I did want to touch base on a question or two that got up further in the chat, if that's cool. Around the Ryan, the summer summon Panthergast thing, I don't think that got logged in time. But if you wish to send a list of identified typos to anyone, myself or any RRC member, we have a side project of working through and finding little typos and details in the ritual rulebook to keep staying on top of. So thanks for the shout out there. Nick, when you kind of are like workshops, we're right there with you. There will be a transition plan that gives a flexible option for chapters to swap out what workshops or allow you to swap your workshops for something else. But it's not going to be a required thing quite yet because we are in the background still brewing up some potential replacements. So if you just want to hold out and see what those will be, that's a possibility. Two, uh, as for, surprises, things that I think wouldn't necessarily have showed up in like the vote record, um, maybe a good one here is that the resurrection stories used to be a minimum of 10 minutes. They've slid down to a minimum of 5. And there's a little bit of clearer context around like how one gets resurrected. In the past, there's been a bit of mumbo jumbo around like what set of skills who needs in order to start and finish and do all of that sort of thing. So you'll find the text there cleaned up and the minimum time shorter.
Is Brett
Um,
being replaced? Brett, that's funny.
Not yet, Brett. Don't tell them.
Yeah.
No, teasing, teasing. Brewing is where it always has been by and large. A change you might notice to brewing is the removal of player-created spell ink and spell books. Uh, I'm perfectly happy to like kind of go down a bunch of bullet points on things that you can expect if that suits folks at some point, but I think those are some sparkly surprises. Let's
I'm gonna defer to my other 3 owners on on the call.
Yeah.
How do you feel about a little bit of kind of going down that list? Can I get a visual thumbs up, thumbs down? You can flip me off, Derek, if that's what you're vibing for.
I am the last person to ask rules things too. I am like, I am so like from all the different revisions and different ideas and different anything. I just my brain. Josh is our guy. So if you wanted to go down and like talk about that, I would suggest like seeing if they would like to pop up and talk. But that's
I will defer to Marley, but I'm always happy to pull Josh up on stage for additional kind of color. If Josh, are you comfortable with that? Marley, are you on board? You look like you're on board.
Sure. If Josh has some things, some questions, some ideas, I'm all for that. But just like Ryan's reactions, I love that.
Right.
I love that
Josh,
notion.
do you want to be our every human up here on stage? How you are you feeling, Froggy? I don't know if you're in a place where you can even do that because it's only fun if I get to watch your facial reaction. Oh my god, give me 2 seconds. Okay, I'm gonna give Josh ping in the chat when you're ready to be brought up on stage. Yeah. Okay. Oh, we're not here to judge, Josh. Like, do you need like I'm not here to judge, Jane. You
Well,
might be. Okay, all right.
the,
Ladies and
the
gentlemen,
YouTube algorithm may have thoughts.
I know it. Oh, that's real. Oh my god. All right. Hold on. I'm gonna pull. So I'm gonna pull Josh, who's actually one of our boosters. I think I'm gonna pull Josh up on stage. Josh, I'm gonna trouble you for a little bit of an introduction for folks who have not had the pleasure of making your acquaintance. All right. Let's see.
And that's working. Hi, everybody. I was just instilling democracy on Helldivers 2. Hello. Some of you may have met me. I've traveled to Denver a couple times with the predecessor LARP. It's where I met Juliet and a bunch of other amazing people. I am the general manager of Edmonton Refuge. And I'm actually just going to turn this off. There we go. And Yeah, I've been with Refuge since we started, did Alliance for many years before that.
All right. Well, Josh, thank you for being willing to not only kind of at the drop of a hat, but look at you. You've got like the mic set up and everything. So clearly you were ready. This was not planned for those of you who are watching this on the replay. I
I just
literally
play a lot of D&D.
yeah, that's real. So, Josh, for this exercise that we're going to be doing,
Mhm.
Marley is going to go through some bullet points, and it's your job to react on behalf of the player base. So, because we're LARPers, I think this is probably an appropriate. And Derek and Jared are both grinning like lemmings, so I guess I'm making the right choice here. So, Marley, to you.
Cool. Yeah, just to jump back on somebody asked about like how do we get spells in our spell books? 2 copper per spell level at your logistics or crafting stations is the way forward. In the long ago times, the idea was 2 copper, but it was potentially whatever copper logistics decided to demand of you. So now it's definitely and exactly 2 copper per spell level there. Um, but to take us to the top, questions about the database. Like what we've called it a database reset. This is a character reset. Each of your characters will uh, essentially have undergone what you could think of as a species reset and a spirit forge. In other words, the stuff that stays on your character is their name, their XP, and their deaths. Um, so that only XP affecting detail on the database is going to be the role of the skill performance. You've had the chance to playtest with us some. You will have seen orchestrate and performance get iterated and change costs and stuff like that. So the here's how it definitely works will be in there. Every other change on the database is really to text fields or how things work. So keep in mind that while the database will be 100% accurate in building your character, there may be some lingering text inaccuracies. So trust PDFs when you see a bifurcation there. That is a quite a good question. Let's see. There is a transition plan for existing spell links. Yes, it is one of the documents that Jules has mentioned will be rolling out on Wednesday or so. Grain of salt will be the update notes, which is like your patch note, all those kind of things, and also the transition plans. I'm pretty sure we'll be able to shoot those transition plans out to logistics teams or heads of logistics at least a few days in advance so you can peep around at them. And meanwhile, your RRC members will have seen this. So if you are dying to know some of the deets there, please, if you're like a head of logistics, check them. Um, Next up, our rulebook is getting a little bit spiffier. We have contributor credits added onto them so that you can know who to praise or blame, and our names can live in infamy. Josh is not on there. um,
Josh is
we,
awesome. Josh is fucking killing it
yeah.
with interpretive dance and interpretation over here. Like, sorry, Marley.
No, all good. You're perfect. There has historically been local campaign specific um, publishing rules, like where you need to put your local campaign specific policies or how you get to surface those for your players, especially if you're a traveler. Having easy access to that can be really crucial. And so that's lingered as like a thing RRC, our rules committee was in charge of making sure happened, but we've just gone ahead and put that in the rule book proper so everyone knows both what to do and what to expect. We have updated some typos around coin and gear and how you get those from chapter points. Previously, they hadn't really reflected a squish that had occurred. Tons of little typos.
I want to ask Dan's question on his behalf. Please tell me I'm going to get something
Oh,
from a
yeah.
super shiny light etched workplace of convenience. What are we doing with workplace?
Uh,
Is that a local
Workplace convenience. Not exactly. While local chapters always choose to do transition plan stuff that goes above and beyond what's in the universal every chapter document, there is not presently a plan until we're out of the provisional rulebook stage of trying things out for what will happen to Workplace of Convenience. That said, do check in with Salt Lake and see if they might have some opportunities for you there.
Sorry.
I believe. Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Um, as far as all that goes, we have knocked out a bunch of little typos, some ones that might have been confusing or actually impacted folks. The scout class's maximum armor is correctly set to 30, not 25. Empowered strike is purchasable over 20 martial XP and not 25. Berserk, charm, and weakness are on the chart as elixir, contact, and alchemy globe now. Remove and restore emotions was an emotional mental ability and never meant to be a general one. Two-handed blunts cost 8 production points, not 9. So if you out there like, Mister, I have 100 hammers, then see if somebody will throw you a bone for having often made them at a higher cost. And some things that aren't contraptions have been pulled out of that chart. We've got better explanations all throughout. Weapon qualifier and packet attacks, I think, are explained in ways that will be a little easier to grasp the realities of. Alchemy globes have been streamlined in their explanations. Thanks to a feedback we got on from a forum from an anonymous but very welcome contributor, we have explained channel foundation element in English instead of gibberish. So that should be nice if you are a high magic user. We've clarified a little bit around how bucklers work and what is allowed to be in your hands. Essentially, you're not going to be wielding stuff there, but if you've got some stuff in your hand, that's supposed to be okay, and now it definitely says it is. We've talked we've streamlined our text also, I would say, around casting spells and what happens if you do fumble, both to make it clear how a marshal should handle this, but also allow our friends who may interact with stuttering or other conversational tics not be impacted. I see Jason's question here about ritual empowerments. I'm not sure. If they were reported through a feedback form, certainly. If they were not, I'm not exactly sure what they were or if they've been tackled. Sorry.
Marley, really quick, how could somebody? So let's just assume, for the sake of for the sake of conversation in the chat, where can somebody submit a feedback request or form? How, if somebody finds a typo in the book, how do they go about getting that taken care of? Like, what is that process?
I think your best, yeah. Historically, we have had feedback forms attached to a lot of our PDFs. This time, though, during our provisional rulebook stage, we're asking folks to directly bring that information to an RRC member or someone who can bring it up the chain depending on your local circumstances. Maybe you've got a really rules engaged general manager or a marshal who gets delegated to take down all of the typos, but work locally to get any typos or feedback where it needs to go. Directors or your chapter owners are also often great people to touch base with on that.
Okay. And should they do that verbally or over email? Like, what is the like? I'm a very motivated player in a chapter, and I'm worried that maybe my feedback is not going to get up the chain. What's my recourse? Do I contact RC directly? Do I go to my director? Like, what is my best course of action?
That is a great question. I definitely listen if a director gives you different advice than this, but my advice would be go to your director. And I would say do it by email because like we're all fallible humans and it can be hard doing everything we hear at a weekender in our brains. So I'd email your director. But if you email a forward-facing email, it's pretty likely that whoever gets it ought to be able to send it where it needs to go.
Okay.
My personal advice for Salt Lake folks is tell your RRC member me. Um,
That's true. Not everybody has
with
a
that in
voice like
mind,
Marley.
do we have?
Sorry.
Uh,
How much more do you have on the list? Otherwise, I want to toss to Josh for because you were brought up here for reactions, friend. I would like to give you an opportunity to actually like not just emote, but Marley, is that
yeah,
is
I
that's
mean
on
that
the
covers
list?
our.
Okay, that's the big one.
Oh, that covers our general. That covers our general, but it doesn't get into the weeds on anything, and I'm not sure how much we're ready to reveal. So I guess I'd say that's about 1/6 of what's in the update notes.
Okay, wow. All right, Josh, I'm gonna toss to you, friend.
Yeah, well, so thing is, I'm not part of the director's chat, nor do I do votes, nor am I privy to the notes. So my reactions to what Marley was saying. Sounds good.
Okay. Do you have any follow
Yeah.
up questions while you have this kind of collection of not me subject matter experts on rules and the changes that are coming?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
Did you did you enjoy your time up on stage? I am happy to return you to our audience unless you have any fun questions or anything you'd like to pose to this party of nerds.
I mean, talk to two of them very regularly, so I'm pretty good. I was just here because he asked.
Aww. Well, round of applause for Josh for being our interpretive announcement dancer. So thank you, Josh, for being fantastic. Derek, are you taking your coat off for Josh?
It's normal. Don't worry about it.
Okay, all right.
It's how we do things in Canada.
I love it. I'm so excited for 2025, friends. Like, woo! All right. I'm Jarrett Nice. All right, let's see if I can figure out. I'm going to return you to the audience. Josh, thank you so much for playing along and being a good sport. Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
All right.
Nice.
Look at that. Learning to use different parts of Discord. All right. So it looks like we have some conversation here about being able to kind of give some feedback is really what I'm seeing here. Am I any thoughts, fellow stage denizens?
Yeah, I don't think it's too wild to get another like a feedback compilation into RRC so then they can review it sort of at their leisure as well. I don't think that's a wild thing. Certainly if that's the way that people would prefer to get their feedback in and they're more comfortable doing that than feeling that there might be some backlash at the local level, like we want to encourage feedback. So if that's a feeling, I'm sure we can kind of make that work.
So we
Yeah,
happen to have the secretary on the call. Can we add that to our agenda for next Wednesday, Marley?
for sure. I know that the voting board of directors had some different thoughts about why a form might not be the best fit this time around, but I have historically found them useful. Um, do we want to tackle some chat questions? Do you want me to go into some other bullet points? What's the mood, y'all?
I think that there is a very good chat question right there about, and it would pertain to like Marley. You'd be the best one to answer it. Um,
Ah, sure. Let me just read it here. Yeah, so there are absolutely talks going on, and it's a high priority for our president, figuring out what can stand in to replace the forums. The adjudication system that we used was very reliant on a concept of the forums that had some methods by which person could ask a question, and then marshals could weigh in on what their answers were to those questions. And then if it turned out after a period of time different marshals had different ideas, then it would escalate, if you will, up to RRC, and we would take on finding a way to answer that question well. Because that entire system is very difficult to duplicate in Discord with being both walled garden and not having the same sort of posting mechanisms. We're still trying to figure out the best way to relaunch an adjudication system. What RRC has been doing in the meantime is encouraging people to ask locally, because a lot of times these are answerable locally when it comes to inquiries. But when we find, like, if an RRC member is able to find in a test that marshals in different chapters are like running things or believe things are working in different ways, then bringing that information to RRC and us spending the first like fifth of each of our meetings on that has been what we've been running through. So as I recall, you mostly play in Seattle, so you would want to seek out. I'm going to shout out Brett here and say, hey, I'm pretty sure this needs a national resolution, and here's why. And he'd be able to escalate that or give you the nuances on why it may be a localized action. TLDR, we are trying to set up a new system that can be direct intake, but figuring out how it plugs into our technology and the needs of our players is ongoing.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say. So this is something, Andy, you're hitting on something that I think is a pain point for all of us, right? Discord is good for what we're doing, right? For connecting directly with the audience in a really nice live stage, for having the RPs, but it's miserable for retaining information. And almost every LARP has this challenge, right? Some of them deal with it with, I've got a bunch of pins. You know, there's a whole slew of them. I think generationally, Refuge skews a little bit older than many of the other LARPs throughout the United States, where they can lean more into Discord because their player base doesn't expect them to have a forum, right? But as a Nero descendant LARP, there is an expectation of having these kind of artifacts, right? These forums that live forever. So, my preference genuinely is to have a website that is up to date, that has a blog on it. Dystopia Rising did this for a while, where they would talk about, this is what's coming, this is what you can expect. Dystopia Rising, however, paid all of their network runners and all of their writers 3 cents a word, just so it's said. So there was an influx of revenue to be able to stimulate that type of work. We are a network that relies entirely on volunteers. So, but that doesn't change the fact that we need this particular infrastructure. For things that specifically impact your character, like LCS or like all those things, those should be in the database and clickable as you're going through your pre-registration. So if I'll pick on Ryan because he's not currently in the audience, but I'm Blue Wolf and I hit all of the fucking games in the network. And I need to know what the local rules are for various different chapters or even campaigns. So, you are right, Andy, and I know other people have been like, where is this asset? So I think it's something that we're working on, but predominantly we are dealing with things that are the most on fire. And while that is on fire, it is not as much on fire as some other objects. So it has not been at the top of the priority list. And I just like, Andy, I want to be transparent with you, friend. And you are not alone just because I'm using your name. Andy is not alone in this frustration. And many of your owners and directors and staff members also have this frustration. So for now, we're still kind of disseminating things through Discord, through your voting director. So yeah, we feel it too. We rely very heavily, just in transparency, we rely very heavily on Google documentation at the directorial level, and that's really how we're currently organizing things. But it's also kind of this brain trust of humans you see on the stage, as well as other individuals that are not here. So there is a lot of sort of teamwork and, oh shit, Jarrett, we had this conversation like 6 months ago. Do you remember? Did you take notes? Like, where did we store that? What does that link to? Or Marley, as our secretary, has a sort of long library of different things, much like that provisional public-facing voting documentation that was loaded previously. So, I don't want to downplay this frustration that I know many of you have. Like, I'm not trying to brush it away. It's a genuine frustration. So, Yeah, you have a lot. There's a lot, friends. Like there's a lot because of the nature of how our game network kind of runs. We really do try and document things very, very heavily, but I do think you as players are not always seeing all of those various different sort of baby steps. Um, so yeah, I've seen different rulings in the South, unfortunately, for rules interactions. Gavin, tell us about that. Like, those are types of things that we want to understand, we want to hear about, we want to be able to clarify. And by we, really specifically don't mean me. I don't know anything about rules, guys. Like, I have so many versions of this game's rules and other games' rules that are living in my brain. But if you want to know about DR 2.1, I have fucking got you. Or Realms of Conflict. Anybody who wants to fucking talk about Realms of Conflict, I've got you. But everyone else who is up on stage is way better at this, so don't send those to me. Okay, Derek and I are gonna get cocktails while everyone else answers rules questions because Derek and I are like that. Oh, thanks, Barb. Barb.
I have a friend who refers to rules as flavor text.
You have two friends who do it.
You just changed my life, Derek. Like, thank you. Oh my god. I'm dealing with some rules changes in the very near future in the next 72 hours, and that's how I'm going to refer to them. Derek, thank you so much. Brad, I know you're in the audience. Val as well. I'm just saying, this is relevant for us for the next 72 hours. Thank you so much. Flavor text. Yeah. All right. All right. I am going to. All right. Is there anything else from the provisional rule book, or is there anything else that my august body of awesome humans would like to use to shout out? Otherwise, I think I'm going to turn it over to the masses for Q&A.
So I'm just dropping in like a little polly type thing in chat because I think talking through like all of the update notes would be not terribly interesting to most of us, but maybe if we go over one set of these bullet points, we can see what the public demands as time goes on. Meanwhile, though, I think getting into a Q&A, and then if one of these numbers pulls ahead by a lot, we could maybe close out with going over some more teasers from the update notes.
All right, Lizzie. Oh yeah, put your number preference in the chat. Just like, or use like the emoji reacts. That's great too. Meanwhile, I do want to. Can somebody answer Lizzie's question in the chat? What does the update to marshals in each chapter look like? Will they have enough time to adjust, or like should they work directly? Thoughts?
Okay, my thought on this is that if you have been going through the playtests, a lot of this is going to be very similar, so the adjustment hopefully won't be too rough. I think that looking at the grain of salt rollout numbers, if we are able to get documents out sometime around Wednesday, it will leave, with the exception of San Francisco, PDX, and Salt Lake, more than a month for marshals to get studied up on things. If you are in PDX, San Francisco, or Salt Lake, I'm sorry, and I hope that if there's any way I can like run crash courses or answer questions, I'm more than happy to engage with those marshals. But it will be a little bit of a chapter by chapter thing. Your RRC members have gotten a pretty solid crash course on these in advance and should be able to lead the charge on dealing with marshals getting more up to date. But please, also, if you're a player, give your marshals a little bit of grace as they are able to put their suits and jackets on. Oh, I'm trying to vote count here and talk, and I'm doing a bad job. So somebody tell me what's up.
There's a variety of opinions about whether humans suck or not, and I'm with Jarrett. Let's ban all humans.
Necro bandits?
Wait, what did I say? Necro bandits? Did I just hear that clearly?
During our startup, they were codenamed Necro Bandits for some reason, and it just lives in my brain rent free.
I love it. I love it. Okay, there is a real aggressive opinion around understanding changes to species, and do any of the owners want to comment on their thoughts on species? I'm just here to be a shit. So like, and Barb hasn't talked much tonight, so I want to make Barb talk. Sorry, Barb. Buddy, nope, we're not hearing you.
Oh no.
Now you're on mute. Golly, Barb, we specifically got a headset. No audio.
No dice.
That's okay. While Barb is doing the IT dance, which is hang up and call back, let's, you know what, Derek, this isn't a rules thing. What do you think about species?
Well,
Ooh.
let me tell you a story. I could think of like
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
that we could use a few more. Like I could even, if you were to peruse onto the Edmonton area, you would see that we happen to have some
I can't hear
LCS
any of
species.
you now. What's going on?
What?
I hear you. I hear Barb. Derek, maybe you should drop the link to your cool.
There we go. I got it.
In the chat, and while I pick on Barb.
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah.
All right, and I can hear you. That's a bonus. Okay, I think I was being picked on. I don't remember what was happening.
So we have a very excited audience. Marley very thoughtfully put a vote in the chat, and the community overwhelmingly wanted to hear more about changes to species that are coming. And meanwhile, Derek and Jarrett have dropped their extra spicy species that I don't know if folks know, but our neighbors to the north actually have. And there's a cheat list for you, Barb, in the director's chat. Thanks, Marley. They actually have some extra species, and I think goblin is like one of them, which is just about like the coolest thing in the world to me, that I could go and play a goblin. So Barb, do you want to give a little open the kimono a little bit and share maybe some of the things that people can anticipate?
Is this stuff that's supposed to be coming in the provisional packet or in Refuge next?
I believe this is provisional packet. Marley, thumbs up, thumbs down. Thumbs up. Okay, this is stuff that's releasing in the provisional packet.
Okay, that's fabulous, because I don't actually remember any of the changes to species that are taking place in the provisional packet. I'm sorry. I'm a bad owner.
No.
It's fine. You're being human, friend.
Yeah, let me parachute in then. A lot of our species changes, what have been billed as this, are a little on the softer side as opposed to hard mechanics. However, Stellarians have -1 XP cost per rank of performance. Species that use elf ears have had that prop better explained since long ago that text had been written. There's a whole industry now of like elf ear makers, and so making it a little clearer what's kosher to use and how that all works is in our provisional rulebook. Species that use tusks may now use either prosthetics or paint on their tusks. So hopefully that makes the casting side of things a lot better. And my 2 cents, just speaking from personal opinion, if you do end up with players who stick to using cool prosthetic tusks, those things are a nuisance. So see what you can do to hook them up with bonus armor, in my opinion. I believe in the makeup space, we also have made it so that eye sockets, lips, hands, and neck no longer require makeup. always love to see the very coolest kits, and getting makeup to stay in that place is stay in those places can be challenging even for the experts. So we're allowing some more flexibility there. And I think lastly, in the species place, masks and cloth are allowed now to be used in place of skin coverage makeup requirements. So if you were playing a stone elf, for example, and had some white under armor that covered all your arms, that would be by the book kosher, and not just something that some chapters have said, yeah, sure, to in the past. And wearing a mask for a kin, now totally legit. Many of our favorite kin have done it for years, and getting in alignment with how things are played on the ground can often be a part of the scrimmage. When it comes to a little bit further out, species tinkering, it is, as you might be able to see in the vote document, there is stuff in RRC's lap that we are working on. That is a lot more in the mechanical realm. We're looking at trying to make species a little more equal across the board in how they mechanically present. And there is somewhat likely to be another provisional rulebook coming out in the conceivable, not too far distant future. And the chances that the fruits of that can be found there, I would say, are middling to high. And that kind of wraps what I know and what we're thinking about as far as species go. I will shout out that the Edmonton kind of conceit around species is pretty cool. Uh, Finding a way to introduce ideas that are kind of overlays on existing rules, and they found a cool way to document it in the database with the name field holding in parentheses your LCS species name. So, yeah, that interests you at all, please follow up on the docs that Derek's tossed out there.
So, Barb, can you still hear us and can you still talk? Because I actually. Oh, are you frozen? Oh dear.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. Okay.
What? No, I'm not frozen.
No. Okay. So Marley, thank you for sharing a little bit. Um, I Barb, if you don't mind, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot because you are kind of my Monster Camp NPC camp like visionary. For those of you on the call who don't necessarily know this, but Portland has worked incredibly hard to create a fantastic culture for their cast members. Whether it's working with them and training them, or just creating a really healthy environment. Um, Barb, I know you wear all of the hats for Portland, but with kind of these changes to species, um, is there a way that you really help your cast members get ready to play a particular species? Or like, I'm gonna ask this question because I'm super nosy, but like, do you actually store masks in a certain way? Like, do you have any best practices for really helping your cast members create immersion that's specific to your chapter? Like, if you have one of the species, for instance, is generally like a ruling class, or maybe they're more merchants, like, is there anything that you think about when you really start looking at creating the best experience for your players when they interact with a particular NPC species? I know this is sort of a LARP theory question, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you always have such good ideas about how to manage your cast members.
So one of the interesting things about our current run of people and species in our chapter is that there is no quote unquote ruling class species. We're playing actually a very egalitarian game where everybody has a chance to be a high ranking person or a low ranking person, and the difference between ranks is actually pretty nebulous for our NPCs. It's actually one of those really interesting things where we have intentionally chosen to have our NPCs be of a variety of species and a variety of gender presentations and gender identities, to kind of mirror what we think we should see in the world, in that people in power can present in any way, shape, or form, and that should be a thing that's cool and groovy. Our NPCs are empowered to play with those things. They're empowered to pick a species that they haven't repped yet, or pick a species that they don't have another character of, or pick a gender that they don't necessarily identify with but are interested in exploring, or gender representation, or whatever. And that is basically to empower our NPCs to do what all of us, in my opinion, and this is just me, should be doing in LARP, which is understanding more of ourselves by exploring the things that are other. So going out to other things that aren't us, exploring those things, and then saying, okay, I think I learned something about me from that process. So we're very active about people exploring things and being things that they aren't necessarily in the real world, quote unquote, real world. That allows people to explore more about themselves. And I think that that's actually a really powerful thing. So I'm all for journeys through species and journeys through gender identity and personhood and all sorts of things to kind of explore who it is and what it is you are as a person.
Well, and that creates not only moments for like vulnerability and authenticity, but I think it really also empowers your cast members to be more available emotionally, I think, to your player base. So um, one of the things that many of you may not know is that we do often talk about best practices on the back end, particularly during symposium. So, and Barb has always been a champion for really creating incredible environments for their cast in Portland. And this isn't to state that our other owners are not experts and in this area, but it's something that Barb and I in particular have talked about before. So, Barb, thank you for being open and being willing to share that.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, audience, it doesn't look like we have any more species-related questions in the chat, so this is going to be, I think, the opportunity, unless anybody else has anything else they specifically want to talk about, but I think this is your opportunity, Refuge community. This is your access to the board of directors and national staff and logistics, not logistics, boards, committee leads. If you've got questions, now's the time to put them in the chat. We will, of course, do this again in March. I apologize for not having a PowerPoint this time. It's because work has to come first. But we will have another date while you guys are typing in the chat with any additional questions. And it doesn't matter. It can be a silly question, friend. Like, you don't have to ask Ennis something that's important. It can be nonsensical. It's fine. Any of us will tell you about our characters, I'm sure. Don't ask about our characters. Like, don't. But we will answer your questions. I see His Majesty King Corso is on the call. Let's see. Who else? I have somebody who doesn't play this game on the call. Brad, thanks for being on this call.
Come play.
That conversation will be had. I'm sorry, King Consort. King Consort Corso King Consort. Fuck. Hold on. I am actually looking up dates for the next one of these because over here. Hey, what is the correct title, Corso? What is the Dane, tell us what is the full title now? Because if you have more titles than my PC, I have a fucking problem. We're gonna title off. We're gonna title off in the chat because that's where I'm at in my life. Why is it illustrious majesty? Like, why you gotta add an extra adjective in there? You know what? Fuck it. All of you on stage with me, put your full characters' titles. You know what? And Josh too. Because I love Jin. All your fucking titles in the chat. While I look up this date.
Possibly.
Do it. Do it and you're cool.
I'll try. Something that occurred to me, though, that I did want to just shout out was we have split out the ritual rulebook and the core rulebook in a way where your rules for casting rituals can be found right next to your rituals. So hopefully that'll leave a better play experience on both sides.
I love it. All right. Does I'm new here count as a title? Oh, welcome, friend. Oh, yay! So
It is the highest status title, TBH.
absolutely. Heck yeah! Welcome. Do we have any other people who are new? And like, if you're under a year to Brad, don't answer. If you're under a year, if you're under a year to Refuge, please let us know in the chat. We are super, super, super happy to have you. Also, Brad. All right, hold on. I have a date somewhere. Somewhere I have a note. Aha, there it is. Rules for other LARPs are not the documents I need right now. Okay, so it looks like I have earmarked March 20th as the next Fireside Chat. Oh my god, Josh, what a great set. Woo, Gavin, 18 months. That's pretty good. That's pretty recent. Hold on. Jin Embergrove, Defender of the Fallen Raven, ex-War Mage of the Arcane Sanctum, Right Hand of Vengeance, Sorcerer of the Eclipse, Bane of the Archfey, Destroyer of the Dark Reaches, Wildfire Wizard, Teacher of the Saladrin Kama Sutra. Wow, why don't we lead with that? Oh, War Leader as well, okay. Oh, War Mage? Is that different than War Leader?
They're different. They're different.
Okay, okay. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, okay. Okay. Timmy/Jenkins, if you have questions about playing Avani or an orc, please feel free to put them in the chat. We are super, super excited to have you. Hold on, let's see. Derek, how do you have no titles? And Barb, you too. Like, how do you guys not have like some silly like guild leader or like you've got to have some titles?
I don't PC.
I hear that.
Yeah, like I don't know. I just don't. I was formerly in a guild, but I left it, so I don't count that.
I mean, okay, you know what? Jessica's got you. You literally pay the king. Like, and
No. I
no?
passed that off. I passed that off to my son this year because he started coming out. So I passed that role off. I don't have that anymore.
All right, Jessica concedes. All right. Oh, there we go. We've got Wizard Lord of Anvilgard, Zagaze Ser, the Remembrancer of Dragon. Oh, I love that title, Marley. That's amazing. Stuart, yes. All right. I'm not gonna list my titles. Does anybody else have
You tricked me into this.
I have to type all of mine out, and I don't remember all of them off the top of my head. There's somewhere in. I have a lot of documentation. I play some asshole that you all occasionally summon to your game as a member of Team Consequences. Yep. All right. Thank you, Kendall. You are my biggest fan. I appreciate you so much. You are my biggest fan. I appreciate you, friend. All right, my wonderful before the fucking Jarrett's right. If you have additional questions, now is the time to ask them. Kendall's the bestest. I play some fluffy fucking Duchess. I don't know. I get to play her like once every other year. Who was or was not elevated to queen for 3 days while her entire shard was collapsing. I'm sorry, realm was collapsing and was elevated briefly as queen regent by a golden dragon that was named Jessie and from New Jersey. Very sweet, Marley. Brad would agree with you if he was on the line. Questions about the game? Questions about going once? Kendall's typing, going twice.
Yeah, if you want any more update notes, teasers, now's your window.
We're gonna, yeah. This is a fact. All right, I've got 3 people typing, so I'm gonna give them just a second. Fucking.
Oh Lord.
Oh God. Any new things near treasure? Oh, Marley, this is your fault.
Sure. Sorry. Treasure policy changes. Contributors credits added. Arcane motes have been added. They are outside of treasure categories, but they do have their treasure point calculations explained. So if you're like a treasure point nerd, you know what that means. But in English, it means like chapters don't have to drop arcane motes, but they can, and there's a price for them. Cloak of Darkness is now treasure point exempt. Transfer Enchantments Catalyst has been removed from the Catalyst list, which is for the reason that Transfer Enchantment has become Transfer Magic and does not require a Catalyst. And there's been a little bit of a reflection of the squish for transformed Greater Undead being 3 rituals into being 1, with some flexibility on how chapters can handle taking their existing multitude of transformative undeath catalysts into being in the future just 1. Yeah, silver super gone. Silver ring is gone. Silver coins remain. If you oddly have a silvered merchantable item, I'm sorry. The light spell is officially out of spell books. I guess you could say light scrolls will no longer drop. And I think that pretty much covers treasure policy document specific shakeups.
New contraptions, Kendall? Are you saying that like as a technical? Is that a technical term, Marley?
Yeah, it's the fancy word for traps, right? Contraptions. It's engineering gear. Yeah, the ones that exist are in the provisional rulebook. Disarm, slow weakness, shatter, 25 normal, silence, and sleep are your contraptions. Everything else is just a pipe dream, just a memory. Uh, not not to be found at this address any longer.
Oh, bummer. Okay, Marley, you say all
Yeah.
of this like it's so easy for you to recall. Like it is painful for me. I'm like, I don't know what the hell any
Well,
of
I'm
this is.
tabbing to a document that's all
Okay,
spelled out.
like, dude, that's deeply fucking
It's
concerning
not
to
in my
me.
brain.
That's like just literally just coming out of your brain, and you're not alt tabbing.
Um,
Okay,
I only memorize in-game noun lists, to be honest.
that's totally fair. Oh,
Wow. Where do we
Flindo.
mail you to get those Flindo buttons?
Right? I want a Flindo button. I met your character at Nationals. You got a cool fucking hat. Like, I want a Flindo button. Oh wait, is it loading? Is that what's happening? Am I waiting for right? Thank you, Barb. Exactly. Like Flindo for president. Maybe, or not trying to like threaten for Refuge president, but like political campaign. Um. Wow, that's a tall statement, Kendall. All right, we are coming up on 7:30, friends. If you've got any more questions, now is the time to ask. I am going to close this out in just a couple minutes here. I want a fucking button. I've been waiting for it to load on my screen. I want a button. Oh, he's got my vote. Amazing. I see Liz has concerns. I really want this to load. Why doesn't this load on my screen? Load harder. Maybe it's Discord.
I could try clicking it.
I did. There's even going to be video proof that I tried clicking it. Like
Bummer.
that's how you know. It's fine. It will come up afterwards. I still want a button though. All right, so upcoming games that anybody wants to quickly pitch to the audience. I believe Salt Lake has a March game. Barb, when is your next game?
Ooh.
Our Broken Shards closer, this is the end of our Broken Shards campaign, will be taking place March 15th through 17th. It should be pretty fantastic. The level cap is 110 XP. You can feel free to squish your character in the free play database and send it to our logistics team. Should be pretty awesome. Our next, what am I saying? The next Paula game is going to be actually in April 19th through 21st, but that's not as cool as our Bros finale, so, what am I going to say? It is a season closer, but it's not as cool as the Bros finale.
I mean, I'm excited to hear more about. I don't get to travel up to the Pacific Northwest as much as I might like. Thank you for all of the pings in the chat too. When does Canada start playing live games? Looks like Calgary. Our first game is April 12th through 14th.
April.
Okay, fantastic. And then Refuge, Salt Lake City looks like March 22nd through the 24th. The Etheria campaign is going to be ending, and a new one is going to be starting in its place. If you're, do we have any new people on the call? Wait, where'd that person go that was new? Fuck, are they still here? Okay, new friend. All right, I'm gonna tell you something. It's a little fucked up. So your character is gonna join the game, and then the shard's gonna blow up. This is what I now threaten players with. So for those of you, this is a cool thing about Refuge and most narrative descending games. So there will be a beautiful campaign that you experience, and it's amazing, and there's highs and lows. And then you have the opportunity to take your character, travel around the network, and then your local chapter will change campaigns. And so you get to take your awesome, cool character, and then you get to move them through other worlds and experience their apocalypse, or just other shit. This is now what my noble goes and neurotically talks about endlessly to anyone who will listen to her. I know, it's okay, my friend. Shard world campaign map. This is my. It's one of the benefits of Refuge, honestly, is the ability to take your character to all of these other games and experience their really unique flavor. But sometimes you end up project managing the apocalypse. Fucking. I wish Aaron was on this call with me, because both of us have been the asshole holding the bag for various different games where we're like, well, guys, we're blowing up. What are we gonna do about that? Are you blowing the game up, Barb? What? I know you're ending the campaign, but don't tell me what's the teaser for the spicy end of Broken Shards.
Teasers, I'm not on plot, so I couldn't tell you.
Oh, great. Okay.
It's already blown up, right? It's in the name. How could they blow it up?
It is already blown up and in the Broken Shards. So now they're hopefully. I think the thing is, we either restore it or we blow it up harder.
Okay. So actual stakes, right? There are stakes. There's usually a 7-year limit or a 7-year timeline in my experience for most of these chapters. Where now that's not all of them, obviously. But I see Derek nodding and smiling, so I'm gonna that. You know what? You're validating me, friend. A trades apocalypse people herder. I feel very seen. Apocalypse project manager Marley. Thank you, Bay. I see you hiding in there. I know you've lived through this hell too. But
Bailiff is actually the head of plot for this. Yeah, Bailiff is head of plot for Bros.
Oh shit! Do you want to drop a hint in the chat, Bay? If you're feeling spicy. Arcane shatter feelings. Ma. That's super fucked. I love it. I'm here for it. Alright, friends. One of these, when we get through all of the, let's fix various different infrastructure and other things in Refuge, I really look forward to the, So There I Was version of this, where, our owners tell one fucked up story from their character's perspective, or, something they've lived through this one time at Refuge Camp. Because many of the people who you see who join me on stage have been doing this for a hot minute and have seen some really crazy shit in character. And that's one of the joys of this hobby, is that we all are storytellers or story experiencers, and we get to share these crazy, crazy things. I don't know if Shane is still on the call, but Shane's got some fucking good ones. So yeah, let's just say that the Broken Shard players have chosen the S tier ending or the F tier ending. Oh, Bay, I like it. I plan to cry, Derek. Derek, who hurt you? It's Jared, isn't it? You could point at who hurt you, right? On the it's Jessica's fault. Wow. Jessica hurt you. Okay. That's fucking amazing. All right, Refuge, we appreciate you. Once again, we are going to see you again probably on March 20th. It was consensual hurting. That's what Jessica claims. Was it consensual, Derek? Derek's like okay, it was consensual. All right, I'm glad.
Technically, is the vibe I'm getting.
Technically consensual. If I'm not crying, I'm not LARPing. I will vouch for Josh on that one. That's amazing. By the way, if you have not had the pleasure of role playing with Josh, dial up to 11. Like, it's a fucking treat. By the way, Canada 2025, just huge pitch. Please go and support our Canadian neighbors. All right, friends, with that, I am going to close this out. Please join us on March 20th. Please tell your friends. Tell them to come join the Fireside Chat. This will be recorded and placed on YouTube at Juliet's earliest convenience, which is going to be next week. Fun fact. Thank you all for leaning in and joining us. Keep the questions coming. If you want to volunteer for something, DM me. I will not answer immediately. It's not you. It's me. Yeah, those are my disclaimers. Team, anything else from y'all?
Peace out.
All right, love you.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for coming by.